What books and burials tell us? The Vedas. The first Veda was composed around 3500 years ago. There are four Vedas: Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, and Atharva Veda. Out of them, the Rig Veda was the first Veda to be composed. Rig Veda contains more than 1000 hymns, and each hymn is called Sukta. The term Sukta means well said. These hymns are in praise of gods. Three main gods have been mentioned in the Rig Veda. Agni is the god of fire, Indra is the god of rains, and Soma was named after a plant. This plant was used for making a special drink. The hymns in the Rig Veda show the importance of rain and fire for the people. We know that rain is required for good harvest. Rain is also necessary for getting adequate drinking water. Fire is useful for drinking and for various other purposes. The hymns were composed by sages, rishi, who were highly learned men. Some of the hymns were also composed by women. An older form of Sanskrit was used for writing the Rig Veda. The Sanskrit which we use today is entirely different from the Sanskrit used in Rig Veda. Some major families of languages: Indo European family, German, French, English, Spanish, Greek, Sanskrit, Hindi, Bangla, Assamese, Gujarati, Sindhi, Punjabi, etc. belong to this family. Tibeto-Burman family. Languages of this family are spoken in northeastern part of India. Dravidian family. Tamil, Telugu, Kannada and Malayalam belong to this family. Austroasiatic family. Language of this family are spoken by tribes in Jharkhand and in some parts of central India. How historians interpret the Rig Veda. Various important information can be taken out from Rig Veda. The following dialogue between Vishwamitra and rivers. It is a loose translation of the dialogue. The sage has compared the river with horses, cows, and chariots. He wants to cross the river. He is praying to the river for his safe journey. This shows the following things. The people of that period lived in an area where rivers were present. Horses and cows were important animals for people. Chariot was used for transportation. Wading through a river was probably the only means to cross it. This must have been a risk to life while crossing a river. The Rig Veda mentions Indus and its tributaries. River Saraswati has also been mentioned in the Rig Veda. The Ganges and the Yamuna are mentioned only once in the Rig Veda. Based on this information, we can take some conclusions. Most of the people lived near the Indus and its tributary when the Rig Veda was composed, but people were also aware about the Ganges and the Yamuna. Cattle, horses, and chariots. The Rig Veda has many prayers for cattle, horses, and children, especially sons. This shows that cattle and horses were valuable for the people of that period. This also shows the importance of male child. Cattle were used for farming operations and for transportation. Horses were used for pulling chariots. Horse riding was also one of the many ways of traveling long distances. Horses and chariots were also used during battles. Battles were fought for land, cattle, and for water. Barley could ripen quickly and could survive tough conditions. Hence, barley was preferred crop. Yajna, wealth obtained from conquering a battle, was distributed among all sections of the society. Some of this wealth was also used for performing rituals, yajnas. Yajna was an elaborate ritual. Sacrifices were made during yajnas. Ghee and grains were offered to the fire. Animal sacrifice was also performed. Most of the male members were expected to take part in the battle. There was no practice of maintaining a regular army. The army was made of people from different occupations. A person was chosen from them to lead the army. Words to describe people. In the Rig Veda, two groups of people are described in terms of their work. The priests were the people who performed rituals. They were also known as Brahmins. The ruler was called the Raja. Raja of that period were not like the Rajas of later periods. They did not have a capital city, nor did they have a palace, and they did not collect taxes. Moreover, it was necessary that a son of a Raja automatically become a Raja after his father. Priest. Priests who perform rituals were called the Brahmins priest. The Brahmins held important position in the society. Raja. The ruler was called the Raja. The kings of that period were not like the kings of later periods. They did not have a capital city, they did not have a palace, they did not collect taxes. It was not mandatory that the son of a Raja would become a Raja after his father. Jana, the common people were called the Jana or Vish. The word Jana is still used as synonym for people in Hindi. The term Vaishyav has originated from Vish. The Rig Veda mentions many Jana or Vish. Example, the Pura Jana, the Bharata Jana, and the Yadu Jana. Aryans, people who composed hymns, call themselves as Aryas. They term their opponents as Dasas or Dasyus. Dasas spoke a different language and did not perform yajnas. In due course of time, the term Dasa or Dasi was being used for slaves. Prisoners of war had to serve as slaves for the rest of their life. The Aryans were nomadic people who lived in Central Asia. They came to India around 1500 BC. Initially, they settled around the region of Punjab. The original inhabitants who lived at the time in India were called Dravidians. In due course of time, the Aryans spread to other parts of the country, like western Uttar Pradesh and further towards east. The Dravidians were forced to move to the south of Vindhyas. Silent sentinels, the megaliths. Megaliths are stone structure. They were used to mark a burial site. A single large stone or several stones could be used to compose a megalith. Some megaliths could be seen above the ground, but some could be underground as well. The practice of erecting megaliths began around 3000 years ago. This practice was prevalent in the Deccan, the South India, the Northeast, and Kashmir. Megaliths were probably erected to serve as an signpost. This helped in easy locating the burial site. The dead were usually buried with distinctive pots. They were called the red ware and the black ware. Iron tools and skeleton of horses have been also been found under some burial sites. This show that iron was being used by the Aryans. This also shows the importance of horse for the people. Moreover, ornaments of gold and stone have been used and found from the burial sites. Difference in social status. There is an important megalithic site in South India called Brahmagiri. From one of the graves, skeletons have been found with 33 gold beads, 2 stone beads, 4 copper bangles, and 1 conch shell. Other skeletons have been found with only a few pots. This remains reveals some interesting insights. There were differences in social status of people. People usually buried their personal belongings with the dead body. Family burial site. Some of the burial sites have revealed many skeletons. Historians guess that these were family burial sites. Stone circles or boulders were placed on the surface. They worked as signposts to easily relocate the burial site. Inamgaon, a special burial site. Inamgaon is in the modern state of Maharashtra. This is located about 89 km to the east of Pune. Inamgaon is situated near the Godh River. Godh River is tributary of Bhima. Inamgaon was occupied between 3600 and 2700 years ago. Usually adults were buried at this site. The dead body was laid straight with the head facing towards north. Some of the burial was done inside the house. People used to place vessels along with the dead. The vessels probably contained food items. From one of the sites, a four-legged jar had been found. A skeleton was inside the jar. The jar was placed in the courtyard of a 5 room house. This was among the largest houses at the site. A granary was also present in the house. The man was laid to rest in a cross legged position. Historians guess that it must have been an important and rich person. The person could have been a rich farmer or head of the village. Occupations of people at Inamgaon. Remains of wheat, barley, lentils, millet, and sesame have been found from the Inamgaon site. Remains of various animals have been found like cattle, buffalo, goat, sheep, dog, horse, ass, pig, sambar, spotted deer, black buck, antelope, hare, and mongoose. Remains of birds, crocodiles, turtles, crab, and fish have also been found from the site. Many animal bones show cut marks. This suggests that these animals were used as food. Archaeologists have also found the evidence of use of bear, amla, jamun, dates, and many other fruits. The above findings show that farming was the main occupation of people of Inamgaon. Animals were domesticated for milk and meat. Wild animals were also killed for meat. How do historians study the skeleton? The skeleton of an adult and child can be easily differentiated, but it is difficult to differentiate between the male and female skeletons. The pelvic bone is wider in women for childbearing purposes. Thus, the relative size of the pelvic bone gives a clue about male or female skeleton.